What does all this have to do with your job today? Well, obviously we're a long way out of paradise, and the curse of sin makes work a constant struggle for people. Read Genesis 1 through 3 and you'll see why. In spite of sin, the desire for meaningful, satisfying work is still inside of us. Nowadays, when finances are tight for many folks, it's not unusual to find individuals working multiple jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, more than 7.7 million workers are holding down 2 jobs. 400,000 of those are working 2 full-time jobs at the same time. That data is from 2022, so the numbers are probably even higher today. We'll talk about the spiritual ramifications of working multiple jobs in a moment, but first, let's get practical. Whether you're considering a second job to make ends meet or to beef up your savings, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, keep the jobs separate. Have a system for keeping track of the details, including job tasks, schedules, and contacts. Whether you do this with an online app like Asana or Trello, or you keep track with a paper and pen day planner, it's important to stay organized. Next, communicate. Effective communication with your employers, coworkers, and customers is especially important if you're managing multiple jobs. That means check in with each employee and stay in touch with your team members about current projects and schedules. Plus, expectations and deadlines need to be clearly stated in writing. Time management is the third element you'll need if you're working more than one job. Set boundaries for yourself so you get the jobs done without burning out. If you're working from home, set aside physical space for work and take appropriate breaks. Working multiple jobs doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can stay on top of it if you stay organized. Communicate clearly and manage your time. And don't forget to take care of yourself spiritually. It's critical not to allow your relationship with the Lord Amen.風行ってるかね。Family time and church in order to put in extra work hours. You can't take your mind off of work tasks, emails, calls, and issues. You are stressed out, discouraged, and exhausted by working. You believe that financial security is the main reason for work. You are obsessed with productivity, success, income, and promotion. You believe your paycheck is your provider. And finally, a very telling indication, you make money, but you don't like to give money. If work is becoming an idol for you, rest and turn to Jesus instead. Satisfying work isn't about you, it's about who. When you focus on Christ and follow biblical principles, your attitude towards work will change as well. You'll begin to see the opportunities God's giving you to reach others. You'll understand that difficult circumstances are sometimes God's way of helping you grow up as a Christian. You'll recognize that God is your provider and you can trust Him to lead you and take care of you. All right, your calls are next. The number 800-525-7000. That's 800-525-7000. I'm Rob West and this is Faith and Finance on American Family Radio.
For your walk with Jesus, I'm David Wolin with Haven Today, inviting you to anchor your day in God's Word. In biblical times, being a shepherd was common and very needed in that society. It was a humble profession, sometimes pawned off on the youngest in the family, but the responsibility was great. Livestock was the source of food and clothing. By protecting and feeding the sheep, the shepherd was caring for his family. And it's no small thing that Psalm 23 opens with, "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing." In this psalm, we are the sheep. God Himself is the caretaker, the one who feeds us and protects us from harm. The Lord is the good shepherd of the sheep, and His love for us assures us that we will never lack in His presence. You'll get more daily encouragement through time in God's Word with Anchor Devotional. Visit getanchor.com.
Frustrated by your health insurance? Confused by the network restrictions and increasing premiums? There's a better way. Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM is a Christian community delivering a faith-based solution to the high cost of healthcare. Take back control of your healthcare with the ability to choose a provider you trust with no network restrictions and savings of up to 40%. Learn more and enroll today at chministries.org/faith5. That's chministries.org/faith5.
Hey, if your travels for work or pleasure take you out of town, take AFR with you. You may already know you can listen to the AFR app on your phone, but wait, there's more. If your vehicle is equipped with Apple CarPlay, it can open the AFR app directly. That means you get easier control, and that means it's safer. Safer to use so you can stay informed on what you need to know to keep your family safe. And if you don't already have the AFR app, get it today. It's always free in the App Store.
Have you ever wondered where your money goes when you deposit it in a bank? Christian Community Credit Union believes in helping advance God's kingdom through everyday financial transactions. For over 67 years, they have provided values-aligned banking solutions to thousands of Christians and ministries. Consider Christian Community Credit Union as your banking institution by visiting joinchristiancommunity.com. Membership eligibility required. Each account is insured up to $250,000. This institution is not federally insured. If the heavy burden of debt is robbing you of freedom and peace of mind, Christian Credit Counselors can help. We're a nationwide nonprofit credit counseling organization that has helped over 300,000 individuals in the last 27 years get out of credit card debt 80% faster while honoring that debt in full. To learn how Christian Credit Counselors can help you, visit ChristianCreditCounselors.org. That's ChristianCreditCounselors.org or call 800-557-1985.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions here in just a moment. That number to call with lines open, 800-525-7000. Again, that's 800-525-7000. We'd love to hear from you today. Dive into your financial questions, hopefully encourage you in your role as a steward in managing God's money. All right, in the news today, among other things, a big jobs report. U.S. job creation roared higher in September. Now, we'll wait and see if it gets adjusted downward. That happened before, but if not, the number in September surged by 254,000 jobs. That was quite a bit higher than analysts were expecting. Jerry Boyer with us later in the broadcast. He'll be able to weigh in on the implications of that jobs report. Among other things, it probably means no more half-point rate cuts. Just if it's one of the primary indicators that our economy is continuing to prove resilient despite the high inflation, despite the higher interest rates. We got to get those rates coming down. We are seeing the economy begin to soften, particularly in manufacturing, but this is a good sign that the economy is holding up if in fact jobless claims are down and employment is up. Again, we'll get Jerry's take on that in our final segment. Also in the news today, Costco is going platinum. That's right. The box store giant is now selling 1-ounce platinum bars. You remember we told you previously about just the incredible demand that Costco was seeing from their 1-ounce gold bars. Now platinum. The price, just under $1,100. Now you can only purchase them online, but Costco is reporting that the bars are flying off the shelves, so to speak. Lots of 200 bars are selling out in a couple of hours with a limit of 2 per customer. The store had similar responses when it offered the gold bars for sale online in the last few years. They can't keep those in stock as they sell out almost immediately. So the demand is there. Of course, precious metals can make up part of your portfolio, but we recommend you keep it to no more than 10% of your total investable assets. So be careful there, but another opportunity for you to invest in a precious metal allocation to your portfolio and do it in a way, especially if you want the physical metal, to do it through these Costco offerings. So something interesting we'll keep an eye on for sure. All right, let's head to the phones today. We've got a few lines open. You can get in on the conversation today. 800-525-7000. You can call right now. All right, let's begin in Texas. Hi, Gene. How can I help you?
Hi, this is Jean, and I appreciate you. I called in on Monday, and it was right at the end of the program, so we didn't get to finish. And I wanted to talk to you about my husband and our retirement plan. We're not using it at this time, haven't started drawing it.
Okay.
We have started drawing Social Security.
Very good. And is it in a 401k with his previous employer, or what do you have?
Yes, his is in a 401k with his previous employer.
Okay. And is that the only retirement asset that you have, or do you have other accounts?
That's the only retirement that he has. We have a couple of small IRAs that we bought at different times when we had to file bigger income tax returns,
Yeah, sure.
And then I have a retirement plan. Mine is with the county, and I'm drawing, a good percentage as long as I leave it there. They tell me I can leave it till I'm 73. I'm drawing 175% on it. My input at this point is a little over 43,000. And so with 175%, if I start drawing it now, I would currently have 75,000 in it.
Okay.
But if I start drawing it annuitizes, and so it doesn't draw anymore, the way I understand it.
Okay.
And I can do dual life on that, so that I can draw, and my son that has handicaps then can it can go towards him after I pass for a lifetime.
Okay.
So.
And what amount would they give you per month if you annuitize that with 2 lives?
If I annuitize it with 2 lives, with him a 50% benefit, mine would be $917, and his then would be $458. Or I can go 75%, and mine would be $834, and his would be $625.
Okay.
And
yeah, go ahead.
And on his, I'm thinking about having it. If we go that far, going ahead and having a trust set up, or it to go in there for him.
Yes.
That way it can be used for maintenance on the house that we will be leaving him.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And what do you have in the your husband's 401k roughly?
Let's see. Roughly 75 to 80,000. We haven't checked last little bit. My husband has lost track of his passwords, so we have to get a affidavit signed to get me power of attorney, or whatever it's called, power of attorney form signed, so that I can, check into that completely. But I wanted to call and get your advice first, because I feel like we need to put it in something safer than the 401k.
Well, you can be as safe as you want to be inside the 401k. It really all comes down to what investments you choose. Typically, and let me ask, what is your and your husband's age?
69.
Okay. Yeah, so, at roughly age 70, we would be typically thinking about a 60-40 portfolio as a starting point. Doesn't mean that's right for everyone. It's just a good beginning point where you'd have maybe between 30 and 40% in stocks, 60 to 70% in fixed income type investments. And with a portfolio of around 80,000, you'd typically do that through mutual funds or exchange traded funds, where you're getting good diversification among lots of investments, a basket of investments, but with that broad allocation, so that you've got a portion of it that is able to grow for the future. And, even if we got into a recession and the market was down 20 or 30%, you wouldn't sell any of those stocks. You'd just kind of ride that out. And at least historically speaking, the market always comes back and moves to new highs. And then that fixed income portion would provide a base of income that is more stable, certainly less volatile, and that would be growing. Am I understanding, though, that between Social Security and your annuity, whenever you decide to annuitize, that would be enough to cover your bills, or would you also need to pull something from the 401k?
Actually, Social Security is able to cover it now. We both do still have a job. We've retired from full-time work.
Okay.
My husband has always been a minister of a small church forever and a day, but we've always worked full-time also. So we still have a small income coming in from the church.
Okay.
And that will continue as long as he's able to pastor,
Okay, sure. Yeah. If that were to go away, would Social Security and the annuity be enough?
Yes, I believe so. We live modestly. We pay for our cars in 2 years or 3.
Okay. Very good. All right, let's do this. I've got to take a quick break, but that's really helpful background information. You stay right there, Gene. We'll finish up on the other side. Rita, Orlando, coming your way as well. Stay with us.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source.
The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to thegodwhospeaks.org to get your copy today. thegodwhospeaks.org.
FaithFi is grateful for support from One Ascent. One Ascent believes that your values inspire why you invest and how they can inspire how you invest. One Ascent's goal is to provide solutions designed for every need and invest in businesses that bless the people and places God has made. They want to help investors do well by doing good, to explore a new way of investing that aligns with your values. More information is available at oneascent.com and by clicking Analyze My Investments.
Hi, it's Sandy Rios, your old friend from the morning show. So many crucial and frightening events are unfolding before our eyes. I'd like to invite you to come over to the podcast, Sandy Rios 24/7, so that we can work our way through these difficult times together. AFR.net, any podcast platform, or at sandyrios.com. And one more thing, my book, God's Velvet Hammer, is now available on Audible. So come join us at Sandy Rios 24/7, and remember, God's Velvet Hammer, available at Audible.
As the leading advocate for the Christian financial industry, Kingdom Advisors serves the public by promoting the integration of a biblical worldview across every aspect of the financial services industry. And we serve a growing network of thousands of Christian financial professionals, equipping and empowering them to carry biblical financial wisdom to their clients, peers, and community. For more information, visit kingdomadvisors.com. That's kingdomadvisors.com.
Here's Rob West of Faith and Finance, heard here daily on American Family Radio.
We understand how important it is for Christians to leave a legacy that will impact generations to come. One way you can do that is through a charitable gift annuity from the AFA Foundation. Call 800-326-4543, extension 345. That's 800-326-4543, extension 345. Or visit them online at afafoundation.net.
Faith and Finance is grateful for support from Sound Mind Investing. If you have money in an investment account, you know sometimes the stock market can seem like a roller coaster. But it's possible to enjoy both profit and peace of mind as a do-it-yourself investor, no matter what's happening in the market. A short video webinar about that is available at soundmindinvesting.org. Financial wisdom for living well. soundmindinvesting.org.
Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio, helping you manage God's money wisely and live as that faithful steward we know you want to be. We've got lines open today. If you have questions, call right now, 800-525-7000. Before the break, we were talking to Jean in Texas. Jean and her husband live modestly. They're approaching 70 years old. Her husband is working part-time as a pastor, plans to continue. She has retired from the county. They have a 401k, some small IRAs, and then her county retirement. They also have a special needs son as well, and they're just wanting wondering how to put all of these pieces together. And I think the key, Gene, is what you mentioned right there at the tail end. You know, you all are living modestly. You're working to even, simplify your financial life even further as you eradicate and pay off all of your debt, which just brings that lifestyle need down. I think the extent to which your husband continues to work and serve the Lord as a pastor is great, because that's providing some additional part-time income. And I think if you can continue to allow your retirement to build, you've got that guaranteed return. I love the idea of when the time comes, either because you have to, because they are requiring you to, or your husband decides to step away, from the church. I love the idea of locking in that additional base of income on your life, plus your child, special needs adult child's, because that could provide a really nice and needed base of income, as you said, alongside some estate planning, perhaps payable to a special needs trust, which would not preclude him from having access to government assistance, alongside the income that would then be there for the rest of his life. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the key is just making sure that 401k is managed properly. And perhaps you want to find a certified Kingdom advisor there in Texas if you don't have an advisor who could allow you to roll that 401k over to an IRA and put an investment plan that makes sense in place that makes sense, just based on your age and goals and objectives, so that we could try to first protect the money, capital preservation, but also experience some growth, so that we could see, over the next decade, that continue to grow, so that if you needed that for long-term care or, some other just kind of supplement to your income, it would be there and you could turn that into an income stream at that time. But if not, that could also be left and payable to the Special Needs Trust as well, which would just provide additional income. So I feel like you've got all the pieces in place. I like the idea of the combination of the investments in the 401k, albeit conservative, alongside that guaranteed income stream from the county retirement. I think all of that is the right approach. So I think the next step is to decide, do we want to engage with an advisor who could manage the 401k and possibly do some more in-depth retirement planning, just so you all have some peace of mind about where you're headed. And then secondly, connecting with a godly estate planning attorney who could help you put the Special Needs Trust in place and just make sure that you're well planned with regard to end-of-life decisions, and having the right tools in place that could provide for your son into the future. But does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the CKAs are people that work under you?
They are not employed by us, so we're Kingdom Advisors is a not-for-profit, so think of us as an association, a discipleship ministry for financial advisors, and we offer the CK designation for those advisors that have met all of our high standards. They've been trained to bring a biblical worldview, they've met extensive experience requirements, and they've signed a statement of faith and code of ethics and a pastor reference and client references, so they've met all of our high standards to earn the designation, but they're all working out on their own for big firms like Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley, or they might be independent. But that certification, CKA, gives us the confidence to know that these are the people that are going to bring trusted advice that aligns with your values as a Christian. And so what I would do is go to our website at faithfi.com and click Find a Professional. You could find a list of CKAs there in Texas near you. I'd probably interview 2 or 3 and find the one that you feel is the best fit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's where you would want to go from here, and then to the extent to which you don't have, some of those pieces in place from the estate planning side, that's where you'd need to find a godly estate planning attorney, and any one of those CKAs can help you with a referral.
Okay. I really appreciate your help.
Absolutely, Gene. Listen, you're doing a great job. You and your husband have done all the right things. I'm thrilled to hear that he's serving the Lord as a pastor. That's amazing, and continuing to do that well into his 70s, Lord willing. So if we can serve you in any other way in the future, don't hesitate to reach out. God bless you. Let's go to Colorado. Hi, Rita. Thanks for your patience. How can I help you?
Hi. I am 74 years old, and I continue to work about
halftime, and I have been getting notifications that it's time to pay my RMD. And last year, I was concerned about it and received the advice that I did not do that because I'm still working. But I just want to be sure that that's really the case.
Yeah, you would. Typically what happens with that is if it's with your existing employer, so if you have a 401k with your existing employer that you're continuing to work for, that's the situation where you don't have to take the RMD on the normal schedule. But any other accounts that you have, if you have an old 401k with a previous employer, or you have IRAs, all of those, the RMDs do kick in at age 73, regardless of your work status. So the only opportunity you have to delay it because you're working would apply to the retirement plan with that existing employer. Does that make sense?
Okay, well, I'm still with the same employer, but it's a large hospital. It was Sisters of Charity Living with SBL Health, which has now been taken over by Intermountain Health. From Utah, and so I'm just not sure if that makes a difference. They have changed from Fidelity to T. Rowe Price. Does that make a difference?
It doesn't, but I will say you need to check with your plan administrator because your employer may require the RMD, and it is going to come down to them. The IRS doesn't require it with the plan as long as you're continuing to work and it's the plan for your existing employer. But I would make that next call to your plan administrator to ask the question. We'll be right back. We are grateful to Chessman Wealth Strategies for their support of faith and finance. Their mission is to help clients make smart choices with their money so they can worry less, enjoy life, and ultimately become good stewards of the resources God has entrusted to them. ChessmanWealth.com. That's ChessmanWealth.com. The phone number is 214-572-2120. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC and SEC registered investment advisor.
Hi, I'm Tim Moore, Senior Evangelist on Christ in Prophecy. Can you see the signs of the times multiplying all around? Jesus is coming back, and he doesn't want his people to be unprepared. To stay up to date about unfolding events and get a biblical perspective on the signs of the times, listen to Christ in Prophecy here on American Family Radio. Join us Sundays at 11 a.m. Central as we reveal the prophetic hope for those who believe in Jesus Christ, as well as the Bible's warning about God's coming wrath to those who don't yet know him.
Paying too much for health insurance? Frustrated by high deductibles and increasing premiums? There's a better way. Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM is a Christian community delivering a faith-based solution to the high costs of healthcare. Take control over your healthcare costs with a program from CHM that could save you up to 40%. Learn more and enroll today at chministries.org/faithfi. That's chministries.org/faithfi.
Absolutely free. We know you've learned to be suspicious of those words, but really, you can get biblical financial wisdom delivered to your inbox each week absolutely free. Articles, videos, podcasts, and special offers on biblical resources. Nearly 60,000 people receive our free weekly wisdom email, and you can too. Create your free FaithFi account by going to faithfi.com and click sign up to begin receiving weekly wisdom in your inbox.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We believe that our ministry, as well as everything in the heavens and on earth, belongs to God, and our role is that of a trusted manager.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association.
Are you a financial advisor or CPA seeking to build your practice on biblical wisdom? Not only does the Certified Kingdom Advisor education provide you with deep biblical insights, the CKA designation sets you apart. Each year, almost 50,000 people search for a Christian financial advisor. Join our community and share your expertise with clients looking for someone who shares their faith and values. Find more information at kingdomadvisors.com/getcertified.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
7,000. Also, coming up in our final segment today, Jerry Boyer will stop by. Jerry's our resident economist. He weighs in on the markets and the economy each Friday morning, and he'll do that today. We'll get Jerry's take on this new jobs report out today. September payrolls surging beyond what analysts were expecting. That's got the market higher this morning, not by much, but slightly. But nevertheless, that was a big report. We'll get Jerry's take on what that means for the economy moving forward. In the meantime, let's head back to the phones. To New Mexico we go. Hi, Orlando. Thanks for calling. How can I serve you?
My name is Orlando. Yeah, I'm a new truck driver. This is the first year driving over the road. And I usually listen to Christian radio just for the spiritual uplift. I read my Bible every day. But I came across your program and you were talking about people working multiple jobs, and sometimes putting that becomes more of an idol where they're chasing the money. And I find myself always wanting to work like meat, and I just want to stop doing that and put the Lord more forefront in my life.
Yeah, I love that, Orlando. I think the starting point is just a recognition of that. Now, there's nothing wrong with work. In fact, we were created to be workers. We go back all the way to Adam and Eve, and we see that they were to keep and cultivate the garden, and they were given, even before the fall, responsibilities as workers. God creates out of nothing. We create out of God's creation to improve and order God's creation for the purpose of human flourishing and to benefit others. And so I think we are to be workers, and science backs that up, that once we cease all productive activity as workers, our health declines, our mental health declines. So there's some aspect of work that's kind of hardwired into the rhythms that God has created. Now, that needs to be alongside the other rhythms that he created, which he modeled himself, of rest. We see him resting on the seventh day, so we don't want to push ourselves right to the edge. We need to have that Sabbath rhythm, both I think on a weekly basis as well as in different seasons of life, taking a Sabbath rest to step back. We realize that one of the high callings we have is to our family, and God created the family. The institution of the family is a blessing to us, and so we don't want to neglect our family responsibilities because we're working too hard. We obviously want to keep our relationship with the Lord paramount. I love that you acknowledge that discipline of daily Bible reading. Clearly being involved in the local church is important. We can't neglect our health, and so exercise and diet and eating right, and we've got to have recreation and things that we enjoy that allow us to get out into God's creation. And so we put all of these together and we find a balance or a rhythm, I think, that works for us and that is God honoring, so that we look at all of these domains of life, our spiritual walk, our family life, our health and recreation, our financial life, and our responsibility as a steward of God's resources, and then our work life, not seeing that as something that's bad or negative, but in fact something that's God honoring and should be a part of our rhythms. And I think even your desire to want to work and to work hard is because of what was hardwired in you by your Creator. You were created in the image of a worker, and so you're reflecting God's nature when you're working. But it can't be so much that it causes you to neglect the other domains of your life. Because remember, once we give our lives to Jesus as our Lord and Savior, we're a steward not only of our financial resources, but of our time and our talents and truth and our relationships, both our relationships vertically with God and horizontally with others. And so how do you find that rhythm? Well, you stay in God's Word. You don't work yourself to the bone. You have rest built in. You stay plugged into a local church. You invest, if you're married, in your wife and that relationship. That's God honoring, in your kids. And, it's a constant tension of finding the right balance, which is why I think we need accountability and people speaking into our lives to say, hey, I love what you're doing over here, but I feel like you've kind of gotten out of balance, and consider pulling back in this area of our lives. So often we can't see that ourselves, and it takes a godly mentor or friend, or accountability partner to see what we don't see and be able to speak into our lives and get us back in rhythm. But obviously I've thrown a lot at you there. Does that all make sense?
No, it totally makes sense, and I appreciate what you do and the message you put out to people, and I'm glad I came across it today because it kind of opened my eyes into what I was doing, and it just kind of this rut that I got myself into. So I appreciate the point, and I'll definitely take a lot out of that.
Yeah, I think, we'd probably, the idea that we would take an inventory into our lives periodically is a good one. And perhaps this is the Lord's prompting for you, Orlando, just to take a step back. Maybe, again, if you're married, maybe it's a weekend away. It doesn't have to be something that's very expensive, but just a time to be able to ask some questions. Maybe it's a time for you to get away personally, and maybe it's just an afternoon at a park with a journal, just kind of reflecting on a time in prayer, asking the Lord to open your eyes to see what you're missing and what areas need to be brought back in under the Lordship of Christ, and what areas are working that you need to continue to do more of. But that life that is inspected and vulnerable and transparent to the Lord is one, I think, that's God honoring. So I'm glad you found us as well. I hope you'll continue to tune in, and if we can serve you in any way in the future, don't hesitate to call. 800-525-7000 is the number to call. We've got a few lines open. Let's go to Texas and welcome Tina. Go right ahead.
Hi, we're about to rent out a house, and I wanted to find out how to set up the account. Should we get a checking account with a low interest rate, or where we can get interest on it, or do we set up a DBA? I just want to do it the proper way for tax purposes, and I know you shouldn't mix your personal account with the business account. Yes. I just need to know what the best way is.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think you're on the right track here, Tina. You definitely want to make sure you keep everything separate, because you want to be able to document that, not only to determine how is this, quote, business performing, because that's what it is. You all are starting a business, but also that you're able to document all of the business expenses and deductions for that rental property for tax purposes. And that means you got to have separate books, which means, yeah, I like the idea of you all having a separate operating account that you use exclusively for the business. It just keeps it nice and clear what's the business and what isn't. And then anytime you're going to kind of pay yourself, you write yourself a check over to your personal account, and that is your income. In terms of the business structure, I'd probably visit with a CPA who could both help you understand, what you need to do in terms of setting up your books, but also help advise you on the best legal structure, whether that's an LLC or an S Corp that you might want to, open up, just to be able to have, the ability to have some not only liability protections, but also the right tax structure for you, to basically be able to pay yourself an income, but also take, dividends, if you will, out of the company that, may not be subject to self-employment taxes. There's a lot of considerations there, and a CPA can help you make sure you've thought through all of that. So if you don't have one, I'd reach out to a certified Kingdom advisor at faithfi.com and ask for a referral. Thanks for your call. We'll be right back. Our thanks to Certified Kingdom Advisor Wayne Chessman, President and Wealth Advisor, and his team at Chessman Wealth Strategies in Dallas for their support of faith and finance. Their goal is to help their clients expand their understanding of biblical financial principles and how to implement them. The website is chessmanwealth.com. The phone number is 214-572-2120. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
You want to nurture your child's spiritual development, but that can be intimidating. On the next Focus on the Family, mom of four, Janelle Breitenstein, identifies some spiritual life skills your child needs to become a disciple on fire for Jesus. You'll hear about solid spiritual foundations and ways you can nurture those on the next Focus on the Family with Jim Daly.
Focus on the Family is heard each weekday morning at 5 o'clock Central on American Family Radio.
Financial fear is real, but so is God's promise to provide. At FaithFi, we know the daily stress of money can overwhelm your heart, but Jesus reminds us to look at the birds of the air. They don't worry, and yet our Heavenly Father feeds them. In Look at the Sparrows, a 21-day devotional, you'll find peace by focusing on God's faithfulness as you discover how to overcome financial anxiety with faith. Visit faithfi.com/sparrows and begin your journey with Look at the Sparrows today.
Do you feel like your hands are tied with debt, preventing you from serving God? If you have credit card debt, Christian credit counselors can help. Through our debt management program, we can get you out of credit card debt about 80% faster while honoring your debt in full. For more information on how Christian credit counselors can help, visit ChristianCreditCounselors.org. That's ChristianCreditCounselors.org, or call 800-557-1985. 800-557-1985.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here at American Family Radio. You know, we enjoy a really high calling as stewards, money managers for the King of Kings. If you look at the word for steward in the New Testament, it means simply household manager. So think about our role as managing the house and all the affairs of the master. Well, that's what we're doing as stewards of God's resources. Yeah, we steward more than just financial resources, but as it relates to this program, we want to be that wise and faithful steward of God's resources, that good gift of money, his creation, he's entrusted to us, recognizing we are entrusted differing amounts. That's up to God, Creator God. It all belongs to him. Our role, faithfulness to opportunity. What has been entrusted to us, and what does it look like for us to be faithful in managing those resources, however little or however much. And that means being a worker, and that means looking at our own mini economy that God has entrusted to us and spending less than we earn and avoiding debt and setting long-term goals and giving generously. And when we do that, I think not only is that God honoring, but we put ourselves in a position to experience God's best. Now, that doesn't mean we will be free from challenges and difficulties. We live in a fallen world. We will go through those difficult seasons. However, as long as we have managed, I think, our resources according to God's wisdom that we see in the Bible, and we put our trust in him as our provider, recognizing that not only does everything belong to him, but even the power to create wealth comes from him. And so we don't try to hold it back tightly, but we hold it loosely with an open hand. I think that's the posture that we need to accept as a steward. And there are real implications to stewardship, right? We have no ownership rights. We have a responsibility. We're to be faithful in a little. So God honors that. We're to keep an eternal perspective. We're to hold it loosely. We're to realize that it's not ours, and we shouldn't take too much pride in it. Remember the parable of the rich fool? He said I and my several times as he talked about, quote, the things he had done, as opposed to giving credit to God. And when we do that, we get things out of God's original intent. So there are real implications to being a steward of God's resources, and each day on this program we want to help you do that so you can hear those all important words, well done, good and faithful servant. Well, stewardship principles apply not only to individuals but nations, and so let's turn our attention to the economy here today. Joining us each Friday during this segment is our good friend Jerry Boyer. He serves as resident economist for us. And Jerry, good morning to you.
Good morning. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. It's good to hear your voice. And boy, we got a jobs report out today. I mean, unless they revise it down